Well, hello and welcome to Ask Audrey. I'm your girl, Audrey Codner. How are you today? We just had a torrential rainstorm. Wasn't sure if I was going to have electricity. That's how life is. We're just going to keep it rolling, baby. We're just going to keep it rolling. So I know last week I was at a farmer's market, and of course, with the rain, that shut down. So I couldn't get my goodies fixed like I did last time. But for this time on Ask Audrey, we're actually going to address like the ways that I attract and how I keep my clients. So this is something that can be addressed not only for tutoring, it can go for any business whatsoever. If you're thinking about joining up for a business or just thinking about it and you're always the one question that everyone keeps asking, how do I get clients? So I'm going to share my little tidbits. It's not really a secret because for me, it's probably the same stuff that everyone else does. But the only thing is, I put a little twist right onto it. So before we kind of get into it, if you are watching this live, hit that hashtag live, or if you're watching the replay, hit that hashtag replay so we can help with the algorithm. All right. Yes, I'm going to do that each and every time. I know it's annoying. Oh, well, to my life. All right. So, hello, I am music. How are you? Giving you a wave right there. So, if you're thinking about doing any kind of business, that first thing, let's do a little reflection on your end. So, even if you're watching it as a replay, just go ahead and just put my little answers in the chat just to make sure that you are basically going on here. All right. I don't know why they paused me, but here we go. So let's think of the worst customer experience that you ever had. Sometimes the worst things always pop up in your head real quick. But what is the worst customer experience that you had? And basically, in one word, keeping it clean, I don't want to get shut down because I just got started. What is that one word that will describe that situation? Some people will say sucked. It will say aggravated, overwhelmed, maybe stressed, any of those one words. Or maybe if you want to make it fun, do an emoji. And just go ahead and put that into the comments. Like the worst customer experience that you ever had. Hey. So when you think of that, it brings on a great emotion, right? And right now you're just kind of like, I'm starting to get agitated. So let's not hold on to that agitation for a second because let's switch it up. What do you think, or how did you feel about your best customer service? So, like, what was that best customer experience? Like, you walked into a facility and they did everything to a 10. Like, what do you think? What will be that one word that best describes that? So, we had stressed, overwhelmed with the negative, but with the positive, you're probably saying, like a queen. I know, like a queen is not one word, but like royalty or awesome or welcomed. Those are the feelings that you really want to have that when you have like some kind of customer experience, you want to hold on to that. So sometimes I always like to ask, like, well, what changed? Because when you thought about the negative experience, I bet you tensed up a little bit, just a tad. And then you were just thinking like, oh man, I remember when that girl did my hair the other time and I asked her, I showed her a picture and everything. And then she had me walking out there looking like Mufasa. Like, no. So it's like something like that perspective. But then when you thought about the best, you were like, they listened to me. They did everything and they even did more than I even asked for. So when I asked like what changed, sometimes it was the perspective because we don't really know the backstory. Like maybe that person was having a bad day and all that, but we all say, even if you're having a bad day, you still have to bring your A game to the table. Like no matter what. Hello. So when it comes down to it, I just want to kind of reintroduce because some people are starting to come in. So, my name is Audrey Codner, and I'm the founder of ACG Math Tutoring. And also, I'm joining in and starting all three of my podcasts. One is the Ask Audrey, which we're doing right now. I'm going to record this. Then on tomorrow, I have my Two Tutors Talking, where I have like another tutor, and we basically discuss things of her group or his group and just really trying to get information out to parents. And then, of course, if you're over 21, what? Audrey's doing some X-rated stuff? No, calm down. We're not doing that far. We're basically saying, myself and my friend Lisa, we decided to do a podcast on who's dating now. So, how us seasoned ladies are basically experiencing our life in dating in our seasoned years. So, if anything, all of those are basically live and direct on my YouTube Music app. Just go ahead and type it in and you'll just see our podcast. But thinking of everything, if I may, ask this question for me. So think about the last thing that you bought. So the very last thing. What inspired you to buy that? So I know a lot of people will say, well, the last thing I bought was a pizza. Okay, what encouraged you to eat that pizza? Or what encouraged you to buy that pizza? Maybe it was a commercial. Maybe a friend told you of a new place that you want to go out and visit. Maybe it was just something exciting. It's something new. Because you notice that we always gravitate to things that we know. Either we know personally because of from personal experience, or we get this information from a secondary source, like a friend or a family member, or even further, a commercial. A lot of these things play a huge part in it. So the way that I basically attract, we're going to start with the attraction of customers. I have like two ways, and those two ways are not brand spanking new. So one of the things that I definitely like to do is I always just think about the client itself. So for the client itself, I will do little things. Like I know for me, for my tutoring business, I know I like to say, okay, I'm available for tutoring for up to an hour. But within that hour framework, there might be times I might have to do an extra 10 minutes just to make sure that the child understands what's going on. But then there are times that I might do something even more, like to help them during their IEP meetings, because sometimes their teachers may see the child in one direction and I will see the child in another direction, and they probably never knew that a child can actually perform a certain way if it's more one-to-one versus being one of many in a classroom. So I always like to kind of do those things. And I always I don't think of competition. I know a lot of people are like, you always have to compete with other people. Why? In order for me to have a competition, that means there has to be a standard. And if there's a standard, that means I have to put myself either at or above that standard. So when I'm thinking of someone's standard might be different than mine. So that means I have to rearrange my life in order to see where the standard is and then try to think of a way to get above it. Why don't I just do this? Why don't I just be me and just don't worry about everybody else's standard and just work to make things better for the kids that I currently have? And then they can be ambassadors to other people, and they can be my voice. And then guess what? Eventually, you might not have to do so much marketing like we talked about last time, because these are the people that are carrying out and putting that voice out there. So sometimes I think about that. And that's why I always say, I don't want to be the best. And I know everyone's like, Audrey, seriously? I know I don't want to be the best. I want to be not only good for my students, but I know when I'm the best, like say the best math tutor out there, then that goes that standard again. What is the best? In order for there to be a best, I feel like I have to lower my integrity. I have to lower who I am in order to get above that standard. So to me, it just doesn't make sense. So it be coming out as being conceited, but I really and truly believe that I just want to be me. I know when I'm working with a kid, I am me. I'm not anyone else. I'm not another person that's been doing it for 20 years and they're impactful. I'm not one of those big corporations, just a tutor from one of the big corporations. I'm Audrey Codner, and that's all I can do. And if my clients don't like me, hey, there's so many other math tutors out there that they can pick. But the ones that really reach out to me, they actually like who I am because I show bits and pieces of my personality. So then they actually get to know me before they actually make that decision to hire me. So these are some of the ways that I attract. And I kind of mentioned one, social media. I know I was never a social media person until about I started doing this tutoring thing. Before I was one of those people that are like, why would I want to do Facebook? I don't care what other people had for breakfast. That was exactly me. But then it came to the point that I had to say to myself, there's billions of people on this planet. A lot of people don't know that I exist. Or a lot of people, if they do know me, they know of my basketball past. Or they know me being the nice, quiet girl in high school. Or they know me as the really tall girl in grade school. Like every time we had to do size order, I was like, I'll be in the back. But then a lot of my friends, a lot of them didn't know that I was tutoring because I used to suck at math. Like, let's be blunt. I was terrible at math. Fractions, no. Word problems, no. Okay. All of a sudden, we started putting numbers and letters together. Who invented that? Who did that? All of a sudden, that's when everything just got crazy for me. But then I had to learn it. Someone told me that, Audrey, if you want to do this, if you want to be successful, you had to learn it. And I think it was Mr. Caruso when I had him my junior year in high school. But then I had to learn to feel confident in myself to really put myself out there. I wanted to learn how to put myself out there so I can see everything. So I have one person here that says I never took Facebook seriously until I started online tutoring. I mean, that's what Chet Lu say. I know I'm butchering your name. But a lot of people really that was what catapulted a lot of people with the social media. And just the mere fact, especially maybe it's because I'm a Gen X or whatever, just the mere fact that I'm sitting here talking into my phone and there's no one around me, that was just weird. And it took a long time for me to be relatively comfortable in front of this. Even though this is probably like my 15th live that I've done recently, I still get a little like nervous a bit just to come on here. But I know that it's needed because I don't know when my ideal client is going to watch. Or I know my ideal client may be watching, but they haven't really made the decision to reach out to me because they're waiting for their situation to see what their child is doing. So, in order for you to really reach out to get that, you need to be out there. You need your face to be out there. You need your voice to be out there. You need your accent to be out there. You need you to be present. So, looking at the reels, looking at videos, even looking at YouTube. Because if you think about it, when people want to know information, they either do one of three things. They're going to Google it, they're going to go to Facebook to see if someone's done something about it, or they're going to go to YouTube to see if anyone did a review on it. That's it. If you can be at two, maybe all three places, your clientele is going to see you. And if you be consistent at it, then all of a sudden, you're going to start attracting. Because the one thing I definitely want everyone to know is you should not be chasing. You should not be looking at a form and say, okay, I got to post at 2 o'clock. I got to post at 7 o'clock. I got to post at 9 o'clock. And I got to do that 3 times a day from Sunday to Sunday until I get people that I don't need anymore. That's crazy. Stop chasing after them because when you put your content out there, they're going to naturally come to you. When you tell your friends, they're going to come, they're going to find you, right? They're actually looking for someone. And when they're looking for someone, they're going to ask, hey, do you know somebody that does math? Do you know someone that does science or English or whatever? Because my kid is struggling. Ever since the pandemic, almost everybody's kid is struggling. So this is not brand spanking new information because parents, if you're out there, if you're listening, your kids are okay, but my thing is the pace of the classroom. If you haven't heard your kids complaining about it last or this ending of school year, they're going to be complaining about it even more next year because everyone's starting at where we left off about 2 years ago. And that's why they're struggling. It's not your kid's fault. So that's why a lot of people, if you're starting to see, a lot more people are starting to tutor. There's starting to be more learning labs. There's starting to be more people considering homeschooling because they feel like there is a huge gap within the gap that wasn't presented to them before the pandemic hit. And they're just like, I have a child that's about to graduate high school that doesn't know how to multiply without a calculator. So there is definitely going to be a need. So in order for us to attract our clientele, we need to be present. So social media is going to be one thing. Another thing is, like I said before, it's going to be that word of mouth. And if you're also into writing, like doing blogs, go ahead, write a blog. Something that is of interest, something that's of importance. Don't just put garbage out there and like, oh, I did a blog today. No, put something of importance out there, something that can be tangible for parents to take it and run with it. So if you can do something like that to really connect them, that'll be awesome. And I always keep saying, talk to your friends and talk to your family. And they're like, well, my family is not that supportive. Well, you got friends. You got someone that loves you because as long as you have a telephone and there's a lot of people that you have on contacts on there, that's the first place you should go. Get in touch with them. And once you get in touch with them, have a little flyer, something that you can put together that you can send to them via email. Then they can take it, put it on their social media site, and then all of a sudden it ventures out. So you're going to talk to your people, but then you have your friends talking for you on their people, and that's how it's going to exponentially grow. It's all just making connections. But it's just a matter of speaking to, as I like to say, your ideal clients. Who are the people that you want to service? Because we can't service everybody. There's how many billions of people on this planet? We can't even service, like, I can't even do 1% of that. No, can't do it. All right. But you also have to know what your service is, what your strength is. Don't worry about trying to basically be the best for everybody. Like, yes, I'm an online tutor. I can do math, I can do science, I can do English, I can help you with history, I can break down psychology. Narrow it down, bring it down. Okay, so once you bring it down and you niche it down and you know what it is, people are going to ask you, do you do fifth grade math? Sometimes I do, depending on what it is. If it's just something quick and dirty, I can do that. But if it's something that I need for you to teach my child, like I have so many other students that I need to tend to. So I will basically say, you know what, I'm probably not the best fit for you right now because you need more attention. I will pass you to another tutor that I think is awesome because I've worked with them. So those are the ways that I kind of attract. I talk to people. Talk to them either through video, talk to them through post, talk to them basically word of mouth. So, based on that, I always like to do what I'm doing now, show my personality. No matter what, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be showing my personality, who I am. Because, like I said before, there's tons of math teachers out there, but they're not me. Just like they're not you. So when you're presenting, if you're a funny person, be funny. If you're a serious person and you like to be professional, well, then be serious and then be professional. That's perfectly fine. But you want to attract the people that you want to work with. If you want to work with people that are really professional, really on tack, then attract that kind because that is your persona. Go ahead and do that. All right. So, if anything, if you do offer anything when you do this for attraction, at your call, basically your call to action at the end of whatever you're presenting, offer something that they can use, that people can use, parents, kids can use immediately. And I know right now it's the summer. So a lot of people are not like, oh, okay, I'm really worried about school right now. But I know at the end of July, especially Georgia, they're going to get started. Yeah, not Georgia or North Carolina, one of the two. They get started early. So if you're thinking, oh, in my state, we don't get started until after Labor Day, but guess what? There's so many other states. There's other continents, okay, that you can actually talk to. That's the best thing about being online. You don't have to necessarily stay in your state or stay in your neighborhood. You can be anywhere. I have students in Africa. I have students in like Cairo, Egypt. I have students in California, Florida. Like it's literally 1 minute I'm in Maryland, the next minute I'm in Massachusetts, the next hour I'm in like Florida, then I'm in Texas, then I love God love us. I'm in California because that's a 3 hour time difference. But that's what I do. And it's nice because then I get to hear the different things that they're doing because every state doesn't teach the same concepts exactly the same. It's always interesting. So, if I may, if you want to put into the chat, what of these attractions, which is, if I may resume, the social media or the word of mouth, which one seemed to resonate with you? Which one do you feel like I can do that right here, right now? Because I want you to get started as soon as possible. So go ahead and put that in the chat. So with all this, now how do I keep them? Now this is when I feel like when I was doing this, preparing for this, I was kind of wondering if I'm attacking other, tutoring services, which that is not my intent at all. So definitely with the social media. Thank you. So I don't want people to feel like I'm attacking. So here's my thing. When it comes to keeping clients, the main thing that I always say to myself is to be authentic. Just be me. I do not fit into everyone else's mold. So when everyone's like, oh, okay, you can get all these clients, you can make like $10,000 plus a month, you can get like $1 million business, and they're all pushing everything and it's great. But here's the thing, what happens the following month? Like, how many of those clients stay? Like you'll hear, and sometimes we have a habit of trying to compare ourselves to other people, but you can't. You are you. You're not anyone else. So I know it's such a hard thing to do, especially that comparison part. Like, well, this person's making so much money and I'm not doing anything. Stop. Be who you are. Be authentic. Be real. Keep your integrity. Keep moving forward. Okay. So when it comes to when you hear those things, I always ask them, okay, 3 months later, how many of those clients that you had 3 months ago, how many are still with you? And majority of the time, the numbers have dropped dramatically. And especially it's an area or a time period where tutoring is usually hot. Like around October, tutoring is hot because that's around second quarter. Parents usually like to kind of see how first quarter goes. Then they're like, oh, hell no. And then they're like, you need a tutor or you need some extra assistance. And that's where we come in. But if you're like not getting your numbers around October, that's a hot zone. And same thing with March, April, that's a hot zone for a lot of us. So I always like to say, I want to be authentic. I just keep it to myself. If you like me, awesome. If not, that's fine. There's tons of other tutors you can go to, right? The next one, I treasure this. Be flexible. I know everyone is always saying you don't give away information. You got to stick to your hour. As soon as that hour is over, you're on to the next one. But what happens if that kid just needs one more problem to help out? What's wrong with another 5 minutes? That's just me. Do I charge for that extra 5 minutes? No. But a lot of my parents appreciate the fact that I'm like, look, I really want you to get this, and I really want you to score well on that assessment. I really want you to get that feeling of accomplishment. So if I have to do an extra 10 minutes and I'll fit it somewhere, if that means I don't get a break and I make sure they do get that extra 10 minutes, I will do that. I will do that. That's what I do. Now, does that work for everybody? No, it doesn't, but it works for me. And my parents appreciate it and they show it. So if and when my prices grow up, they're like, yes, definitely. And there's times I get tips at the end of the year. Tips? Who knows of a teacher getting tips? Almost no one. But then all of a sudden, not just because of teacher appreciation, I get stuff for appreciation as well. But Christmas, Christmas bonuses. Remember that? Well, maybe you guys don't. But being an old fogey, yes, years ago we used to get Christmas bonuses. And I get Christmas bonuses because people say, I appreciate the fact that you stayed an extra 15 minutes. Like, oh my goodness, Miss Audrey, I need to pay you for this. I'm like, no. And I always tell them, I'm like, God's going to make a way for me. And He is. Now I'm doing podcasts. Now I'm being asked to be a presenter now for a podcast or for summits. And now it's like, now I'm helping people out with their mastermind and helping them with their own businesses. And I'm like, who knew where all this came from? So usually just me being my flexible, kind, authentic self just works. It's almost like tutoring is my niche, right? So, on top of that, the third one, you want to build relationships. That goes for any business. I'm coming up close to you. That's how close I'm going to be. Any business, it doesn't matter. Flexibility, but you want to build businesses. So, we have right here. I would be surprised if tutors are not given extra 5 or 10 minutes to work on extra problems to help students. And that's what we do. Sometimes people don't want to admit it. They're like, no, I only do up to the hour. Come on now. If you saw a kid and they're just like, I just want to do one more problem. First of all, you have a kid that's asking you, can we do one more problem? Hello. How often does that happen? Very seldom. Very seldom. In the classroom, does that ever happen? Can we just do one more problem? Please. That kid would be chastised really quick. They're like one of those people that when we have like professional developments and that one teacher's like, I'm not quite getting it. And everyone's like, I'm about to hurt her. We want to go home. Right? So when it comes to all these things, building relationships can go through no matter what the business is. It doesn't matter if it's tutoring, if it's you're building a soap business, even if you want to, I don't know, do a goat farm. Trust me, I have someone that I'm helping with his goat farm, which is hilarious. But these are the things that people will do. You can't run a full on business by yourself. Let me say it again. You can't run a full on business by yourself. You have to have collaboration. It's nice to have an accountability partner. It's nice to have someone that you can brainstorm with or bounce ideas with. Now, when I was married, as the ex is over, um, I used to try to bounce ideas off, but he didn't quite understand what I was doing. So it's almost like me telling my dream to someone that doesn't understand my dream. So obviously they're not going to get it. And then what kind of response am I going to get back? And then I'm just as lost. So sometimes I felt like it's better for me to talk to a wall and then be like, all right, so wall, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And then just trying things out. But then I was able to find some people on Facebook, find some people through, like, I did some things on Clubhouse. I found some people like my friend Corey, where I'm wearing his shirt, the Forever Athlete, still supporting Corey Camp to this day. Um, and just finding like-minded people. And there are some out there. Even you can join my Facebook group. I finally designed one. And it's called From the Classroom to Online Tutors. So you can come for other like-minded, other math tutors especially, could come in, look at some resources, have discussions. So now we don't have to translate anymore. Because when I was in the classroom, it seemed like every time we wanted to do some cross curriculum activity, I felt like I always had to basically extra explain what I was talking about. Because if you threw the word quadratic, it was just like completely over their head. Because we have to understand that math is a language all on its own. So when we have math in these corporations, that's why math is our own entity. And that's why a lot of principals, some people don't understand that math is its own thing. But when you try to bring us together with everything else, and they're like, "Oh, math is just so complex." No, we're not complex. That's just what we are. We're radical, we're radical, we're rational, we're complex, we're imaginary sometimes. But by putting these things together, this is what we have to do. These are the things we have to build. We have to get relationships. We have to find like minded people. So, if you're into tutoring, it'll be great to have somebody that has been doing tutoring for a while to break some of those concepts or to just throw some ideas out there. Don't be afraid to put an idea out there and, like, oh, someone's going to steal my stuff. There are some people out there. So that's why you got to build that relationship before you share openly. So sometimes that's why you're going to have to kind of just feel it out, right? So I'm trying to look up. All right. Oops. Here we go. I know I'm like, it's like I never considered building relationships with other tutors until you mentioned it during our first Zoom call because he's part of my mastermind class. I've never been such a social person. I, what people like to call is an introvert. I put on this lovely mask of being an extrovert, but as soon as I'm done with this live, I'm like exhausted. Like I'm just like, all right, I'm ready for bed. I can't do it. Because it's like all day you've been up, you're motivating people, you're trying to get people on through. And then by time I'm just like, okay, everything's done, and nothing. Like I can't do this anymore. Hair's up in a crazy bun. That's it. I'm like shutting it down. But when you're trying to build your tutoring business, you need to basically talk to people that's similar to you, or maybe even in the realm that's dealing with children. One of the things I've noticed, like I know people that are starting to get into real estate. So they deal with parents with kids, that schools, and they might even have a conversation. I deal with some of those real estate agents, just be like, hey, can you pass my stuff along just in case you come across a parent that has a child? They're like, oh, I know, I wish this is a good school. I hope this is a good school because my child needs help with math. Boom, plug me in. So little things like that, or even just see if you can get in connection with some of the local schools. Talk to somebody there. Talk to your PTAs. Talk to your athletic boosters because our student athletes, guess what? They still need to maintain. I don't care if they're getting money from wherever, the like image and all that, they still need to pass in order to get into that next level. They need to pass their classes. So, guess what? If there's a kid that's struggling, they need to go on their travel team, they need to play on their school teams, whatever. They're going to need assistance to catch up on their grades. That's how you can plug yourself in as well. So hopefully you're writing these things down and not only writing them down, but putting it into action. Please. That's the one thing that drives me nuts. I don't want you to just come in here and just be like, just here to support Audrey. I want you to take some of this information and apply it. Okay. So really getting out there. So those are the three. So let me go over the three. One is being your authentic self. The second is being flexible. And then the third is to want to build relationships. So let me ask you, which of those three resonated with you? So was it being your authentic self? Was it being flexible? Or was it the relationship part? Go ahead and put that in the chat. And at the same time, if you're watching it live, hit that hashtag live. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and hit that hashtag replay. Give me a little time. I know I was always terrible at wait time when I was a teacher. Absolutely terrible. I forgot I have to like do my tapping of my fingers when I do this. I know. See, when my hand is down, you can't see it, but this is what I used to do to give my kids wait time. I would do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'll just hit the thumb twice, 9, 10. Then I would ask a question. So now you learn a lot of my secrets. So I have a couple people saying all three. And I'm like, hey, and it's true. You're going to be a combination, but you're going to find your true voice. So when it comes down to it, as I said before, when to start it, you want to start doing it right now. So you want to know who you are, know what your value is, be able to be flexible, basically create a schedule that will kind of have that flexibility. Because for me, I just do a natural flex. Whereas my classes or my sessions last up for 50 minutes, but I will block off an hour. So like the last 5 minutes, if we got to that 50-minute mark, I would always ask kids like some questions like, all right, what do you think you were awesome at? What was something that you were needs more work with, and then how are you going to learn it? So I will always do some kind of closing questions, and if they need more time, I can give them that natural time. So that's basically how I do it. So to kind of go back to it again, the way that I attract is basically I need to put myself out there. Social media, flyers, word of mouth. Put yourself out there, people, because people don't know that you exist. So they can't come to you if they don't know you exist. And then the next part is how do I keep them? I just basically be me. And I try to be flexible and I want to build a relationship. For some of my parents, sometimes I say, I want to be in the Christmas letter. I want to be like, our new daughter, Audrey, is now doing great in her tutoring business. But I want to be in the Christmas letter. Put me in there. So when it comes to those things, it's all kinds of wrapped together. So, if you like this again is part of my Ask Audrey kind of series in my podcast. So, if you ever want to listen to all the remaining ones, you can go to YouTube, the music app, and just type in Ask Audrey, and you'll see all of my. I still have a couple more I have to put on, but you will see all of my episodes that I've done thus far, as well as you're going to see from Two Tutors Talking, which I will be live tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I won't be able to do it on Instagram. The Instagram, I have to put the replays because I can't do the split screen on Instagram, unfortunately. but I will definitely put the replay there. And if you do want to see the other ones, you can also find Two Tutors Talking on YouTube at Music app as well. Now, if you want to be a guest on my Two Tutors Talking, please just DM me and I will pick a date and a time that, well, the time is going to be the same, but a date that sees we can work together and then be able to give you the opportunity to explain or just basically to show what are the features of your tutoring company, all right, or business itself. Now, close to the last part is if you want to join my Facebook group, is From the Classroom to Online Tutoring. Still got tons of space in there. Always want to do some resource. If you have a question, you can ask it in there and I'm going to answer it. It's not going to be another coach or another person. It's going to be me. So if you wonder why sometimes I'm tongue-tied, because I've been talking all day. So if you want to go ahead and join into the Facebook group, go ahead and sign that in there. And also be ready. Right now, I'm doing a mastermind for online tutors, and we're about to finish up on week number 2. I can't believe it's just flying by. And it's a 6-week course. And the next one is coming up in the fall. So just stay tuned to that. I'm going to kind of let you know what's going on there. And then also, I have another possible summit that's going to be happening in August. So stay tuned to that. I just got information on that today. So now, next week is the 4th of July. I'm not sure if I'm going to be live, yes or no. I mean, I'll be alive, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be here for the live because it's our Independence Day. Sure. We're still working on it. That's all right. Everybody whips out the barbecue and everything, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be here for the live for that next Tuesday. But if you ever have any questions, any comments whatsoever, please do not hesitate to contact me. All right. So you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you possibly in 2 weeks or tomorrow for Two Tutors Talking. All right. Bye, y'all.